What's up, everybody? It's Eric here, the Savage Outback, and look what we have here. This is the Predator 3500 watt portable power inverter generator. This is generally the Harbor Freight generator. I don't know if you can get this anywhere else, but it's sold at Harbor Freight. Right now, as of this afternoon, they were $849 for this generator, and you can get an online coupon for this, register for their credit card, whatever it is, but you can get some deals and walk out the door with this thing for about 675 bucks. So I have it sitting next to this generator right here. This is my Honda generator. This is a Honda EU 7000 IS inverter generator. And if you've seen some of my other videos, we do a lot of things off the grid. We have a tiny cabin out in the woods, and we completely support that cabin with that Honda generator. The reason I have these two sitting side by side is because I have to have that Honda generator out there in order to run my well pump. My well pump is 240 volts, and this generator right here does not afford me the ability to run the well pump because it is 240 volts. This does have a 30 amp plug on it, but not 240 volts. So the reason I say that is because this generator right here is an awesome generator. You can't beat a Honda. But this generator was about $4,800 bucks. This generator right here, under $1,000, can do everything that can, with the exception of being able to manage that 240 volts. So, having said that, for a fraction of the cost, this generator right here would probably serve your purposes. So we're going to get it out of the box. I'm going to get some oil in it. We're going to get it serviced up, fire it up, and then we're going to talk about some of the features and let you make your own decisions on it. But pretty good bang for the buck, I think. Here we go. All right, so I got the Predator here up on the table so we can take a little better look at it. Show you some of the things that it comes with here. Get a nice little toolkit with it. Phillips head screwdriver to remove some panels. You're gonna have to do that initially when you put this thing together. You have obviously an owner's manual. You get a nice little funnel to put your oil in it, which be sure you do that prior to starting it. Also comes with a 30 amp adapter, which adapts to the front of the Predator, and that adapter would connect to such as a travel trailer or something of that nature. So the battery comes here. This is in a compartment located here on this side of the Predator here on the instrument panel and outlet side. The battery is not connected when you get it. You need to remove it and connect the battery. That's where your screwdriver comes into play as well. Looking at the main panel, you have your start run switch. Initially, when you fire up the unit, you put it to start when it's cold. Get the unit started, back it down to run, and let it do its thing. You have a nice little LCD display, electric start right here. This is your eco throttle switch. So basically, this is going to idle the engine down when you don't necessarily have high demands on it. But when you put a load on it, the engine RPMs will jump up. This is your 12 volt DC outlet right here with a breaker. You have two 110 volt AC outlets here with a breaker. And then of course you have your 30 amp plug. This is an L6 30R receptacle, which this plug that you got here will adapt to that, and then you can plug in the opposite side. This is the breaker for that, of course, or the reset breaker for that. And then, of course, you have a ground and two parallel ports. And these parallel ports would be used if you have a second Predator, then you wanted to daisy chain the two, which certainly would be handy for bigger loads. Obviously, on top of the unit, you have your gas cap here. This is where you're going to put your gasoline in. I would highly recommend ethanol-free gas. I wouldn't use anything in these units other than ethanol-free. We have a gauge here. I'm not sure if this is level, but I don't believe it has anything to do with gas because obviously I got gasoline in it and it doesn't register anything. But if you do notice, inside the filler cap here, if you look down, there is a little red float. So I think that's really where your gas gauge is just based on that float. And then over here on the side of the unit, I also have this panel removed. You can see in here the little orange cap. This is your oil filler cap here. And inside this panel, you can remove this whole panel and access other things such as your filters and spark plug. But for today's purposes, we're going to take this cap off. We're going to put some oil in it. And then coming around this side is your exhaust end. Spark arrestor would be in there. And then on this side, of course, is another panel. You have an air filter here, pull start here in the event that your electric start doesn't work. Again, when you first get this, you got to take the battery out. You're going to have to hook up the positive and negative terminals of your battery. So I'm going to get that taken care of, and we'll get her fired up, and we'll talk about some other uses and purposes, and maybe do a little load test. More to follow. All right, guys, I got oil in the unit. Once again, you fill it over here on the side. The manual says that it takes about 20 ounces of oil. And initially, the recommendation for it is 10W30, SAE 10W30 oil. Any good 10W30 oil will work. Once you run it and get it broke in, you can certainly move over to synthetic if you want to. But just be careful, because I couldn't quite get 20 ounces of oil in there. I got about 18 ounces of oil in it. So if you overfill it, you're going to have to drain a little bit out, especially initially during your break-in. So the other thing I want to say is, once a brand new unit, I just give this a couple of pulls a few times, see if I can move some oil around in there a little bit before I fire it over. I got the battery hooked up. That's under this compartment right here, as I showed you before. And there's some very detailed instructions on top here that tell you how to start the unit. Initially, you need to turn the eco mode off, which we have done. You have to turn this all the way over to start. So it would be my assumption that would be your choke initially. And then once the unit starts, you back this off to the run position. And it says that there is a duty cycle on this start switch here, that you shouldn't hold it more than about 3 seconds. But let's see what happens. Here we go. Boom. This thing fired up just like that. So this is showing our voltage right here, 124 volts. No amps. We do not have a load on the unit right now. We have an hour meter. So, I gotta tell you, this thing is whisper quiet. We're sitting here up on the table right now, and running inside my garage, so it probably seems a little louder than it actually is. But this is anywhere between about 57 to 65 dB. So if you're out at a campground or something, you pull up at night, you can certainly pull this thing out, fire it up, and not have to worry about disturbing the neighbors. So there's a little bit of a rattle from this brake right here, but that's to be expected, not a big deal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this thing run for a little bit. We'll get it broke in, and then once we get it broke in, we'll do a little load test on it. I'm going to show you here. If you flip the eco switch on, RPMs in the unit drop way down. A little bit of a rattle from sitting on this table, but this thing is amazing. Whisper quiet. All right, we'll see you in a minute. All right, guys, I got the generator up on the table here running. A little bit of rattling you're hearing is actually from the table, so don't pay no attention to that. I'm going to set this unit on the ground. I'll let you hear it run outside. It is very quiet. So I got a heat gun hooked up. It's a 1500 watt heat gun. I got an old quarter drill hooked up. That quarter drill will surge up to about 300, 350 watts initially on its initial draw. I do want to tell you that it claims to be a 3500 watt generator. It's actually about a 3000 watt continuous use generator. So the inverter is going to put out about did I say 300 watts? I meant 3000 watts. So the inverter is going to put out about 3000 watts continuous, and it'll allow you to surge up to about 3500 watts for a short period of time before it overloads. So come on up here, we'll take a look at the heat gun, and then we'll go from there. 1100 watt heat guns. On high, you can hear the draw. So if you look at the meter here, drawing about 12.5 amps and 1528 1,528 watts. So now I'm going to add the drill to that. Let's see. So we'll make that drill surge one more time. Here we go. So we're jumping up to about 1,935 watts. So it seems to handle that pretty easily. Unfortunately, I got two outlets here, so I can't plug a bunch of things in. You could hook up a power stick and try it, but I'm going to give you my thoughts on that in just a minute. All right? Stand by. All right, I'm standing out here outside my garage. I'm speaking to you in a normal voice. Just wanted you to kind of get a good grasp of really how quiet this generator is. It's pretty impressive. Probably maybe 60 to 70 dB when you're standing right next to it. But if you move away a little bit of a distance, say for example you got this thing parked beside your travel trailer, you're not going to have any problems. The noise is going to be minimal. You're not going to hear it from the inside. So I just wanted to give you an example of that. The thing is pretty impressive, to be honest with you. So I'm going to just pause here for a second, pick up my mess a little bit, and then I'm going to come back and give you just a little overview of a couple things that my thoughts on this unit. All right, so here's my takeaway on the Predator 3500 watt inverter generator. There's some really cool features on this generator. It is actually about a 3,000 watt continuous run generator. So it holds about 2.6 gallons of fuel, and they tell you can get about an 11-hour run time on about a 25% load. So obviously as you increase your load, you're going to decrease your run time. The really cool features about this thing is that the ease of accessibility, you can get to the oil, you can get to the spark plugs, you can get to the battery without having to rip the unit to pieces. I really like that. I also like that there is a 110 volt 30 amp plug on the front, which means you go to a campground, you got your travel trailer behind you, you're going to be able to plug right in, and there is no doubt in my mind that this thing will power your standard camper without any difficulties whatsoever. So we load tested it with a heat gun. The heat gun was about 1,500 watt heat gun on high, and then an old drill that you plug in, 110 volt AC drill, and that drill has a surge of about up to maybe 350 watts, something like that. So you've seen on the meter we were cranking out about 1,975 watts or something. I don't remember the exact number, but it was a pretty good load. And I think it will maintain that load pretty well. I wish that there were more AC outlets on the front. However, that's not a huge deal. Really, if you're using a 30 amp plug, you're probably having your generator outdoors, so you're only going to plug in extension cords and things like that to those AC outlets on the front. I like that it is whisper quiet, and it is relatively light, maybe 100 pounds. I don't remember the exact weight on it, but it's light enough for me to lift up on a table and lift down by myself with about 2 gallons of gas in it. So not terribly heavy at all. The one thing that I don't like about it, and really this is just not a serious bitch at all, but that's the size of the tires on it, or the wheels rather, I should call them, not tires. They're plastic wheels. The unit seems to roll okay, but we're on concrete right now. If I was out in the woods at my cabin, there's a lot of stone, rock, dirt, mud, and you're not going to roll this unit across any of that. So keep that in mind, but that certainly is not by any chance a deal breaker. All in all, you're out the door. It's anywhere between $675 to $800 on this, depends on how thrifty of a shopper you are. But for that price and what you're getting in this generator, you certainly cannot go wrong. If this thing had the ability to do 30 amp plug at 240 volts, I would have 2 of these in my truck on my way to my cabin out in the woods right now. But so anyway, having said that, man, I appreciate you guys checking us out. I appreciate you liking and subscribing to the Savage Outback. Check out our other videos, off the grid stuff, where we're out working on our tiny cabin in the woods. And big shout out to my buddy Bob Dorn, CZ Shooter. He does a lot of weapons and handgun videos. here on YouTube. But anyway, thanks again. Until the next time, hope you're safe.